Okay, so are you ready? Can you see it live on YouTube?
Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm putting this in test, and I'm sharing the link. All right, guys. So, welcome to our Upper D um, Cycle 8 morning final presentations. As you know, these presentations are a requirement for you to graduate from our English program at Centro Colombo Americano Manizales. And I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what you prepare for us, okay? We're going to start right away. And we're going to start with Mardori. So, Dori, what are you going to present about?
Good morning. And today I'm gonna present you about the Cathedral Basilica of Our Lady of Rosary of the Manizales.
All right,
Let me
perfect.
share
Dori,
the
you can
screen.
start. Yes, please.
You can see? Can you see?
Yes, Dori.
Okay, all people know about this cathedral, but before the cathedral that now we have, Manizales had other three, and right now I'm talking about. Okay, in 1849, when the Antiochian colonies settled here, they constructed the first cathedral, the first chapel, and it was made with wood and wicker. But in 1879, the population had increased and they didn't have enough space for all people. In order to get a solution, the archdiocese decided to construct another one. It was made with masonry technique and wood. It lasted until 1875 when it must be demolished because with the constant earthquake damaged the infrastructure of this church. Then the third church was constructed in 1897 when finished this church like you can see, and in 1900 Pope Leon 13 declared as the first cathedral in Manizales. But if we want to understand better this history, you should know some important dates or some important information. The first one is Manizales has resisted three fires in all his history. The first one is in 1922 that only burned two blocks is like the harmless because the damage is not, it wasn't, yeah, it's the last for is something like that. And the second one is considered the biggest because this fire burned 20 and 22 blocks is like the 70% of all the city, and also burned the National Palace banks, locals, and the a lot of houses. And in 1926, the last fire destroyed all the cathedral and all the documents inside that. Then, in 1922, Manizales didn't have a principal church. For this reason, the archdiocese began an international competition in order to get an innovative blueprint. Um, and in fact, they found the French architect Julien Polti, who was the person in charge to design this cathedral. His designs was inspired by the Byzantine, Neo-Gothic, and Neo-Roman style. Then the construction started February 5, 1928, and finished in 1939. Only 11 years, and in that time it was a really a record. All the materials were imported from Holland, the United States, and Denmark, and 200 workers were being working in this construction. So, what happened then? The construction of the cathedral were divided in four principal steps. The first was the foundation, like you can see in the left right side. Then the roof and the secondary towers with the four sculptures in the top. Then the main tower, and in the last part they put a saber crease in the top, and it has 6 meter and 6 stone wave. Between 1972 and 1970, the principal door were imported from London. Here we can find the history of Manizales, but until 1972. In the door we can find the foundation, the first chapel, the earthquake, but the earthquake from 1879 and the fire. And the weight is approximately 5 tons because it's completely made with bronze. And what happened? On July 30, 1972, have an earthquake with 6.8 magnitude power that destroyed the principal sculpture and the four sculptures in the secondary tower, and also the northwest tower. So what happened in the 1980s and 1990s? Manizales began the reconstruction of these towers. Also, they inaugurate the demolished towers, and also the 1,000 square meters of stained glass window were inaugurated. That were imported from Italian and French, but also Italian, French, and Colombian artists were the person in charge to make these stained glasses window. And in 1984, the President Belisario Betancourt declared the Cathedral of Manizales as a national monument. And here I have some curious facts about the cathedral. The majority of people only know this cathedral as Manizales Cathedral, but the full name is Cathedral Basilica of Our Lady of Rosary. In addition, inside the cathedral, we can find a cafe that named Cafe Tassioli in honor of Alideo Tassioli. He was an Italian sculptor that made the majority of the sculptures inside the cathedral. A replica. Maybe you don't know, but a replica of the third cathedral were located in cheaper neighborhood. In the left-hand right side, you can look the replica, and the right-hand side, you can see the original design of this cathedral. It's a little bit different, but the structure and the principal things is in this place. National record. With 113 meters, the Manizales Cathedral is considered the highest cathedral in Colombia and the third one in Latin America. And also, yesterday was the Manizales birthday because Manizales was founded on October 12, 1849. And Manizales um, uh, 171 years. Maybe you don't know, but the highest cathedral in Latin America is Cathedral de Maringa, Brazil, with 144 meters, and the second place is for Basílica del Voto Nacional, Ecuador, with 115 meters. Thank you, and that's it. I think that I expect that you like this presentation and know more about this beautiful cathedral. Thanks.
Dori, amazing. But can I ask you a question? Why did you choose this topic?
Because I'm a touristic guide, and some years ago I should present about the Manizales Cathedral. And when I look and search for the information on all things, I really like it because it was a huge process for construct this amazing sculpture, like, yes, this beautiful cathedral. And for me, it's very important because it's one of the most touristic places here in Manizales.
Amazing, amazing. And what does it represent to Manizales?
I think that is an important part in the history, because when the Antiochian colonies come here, they always carry the most important things for them. Like, I don't know how I don't know how to express well, but they always carry the most important things. And I think for us, they carry the culture, and the culture were represented in this structure, in this cathedral.
Dori, amazing. You did an amazing job. I'm so happy with you. All right, thank you. All right, guys. So next we have Edward. Edward, tell us what you're talking about.
Okay, teacher. In this case, I'm going to talk the period of the violence in Colombia.
Amazing. All right, Edward, you can start sharing.
So, this one. This case. Okay, you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, teacher. So the violence in Colombia, it's a historical period in Colombia between the years 1948 and 1958. Yeah, so in which there were armed confrontation between supporters of the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party. Was characterized by being extremely violent murders, assaults, persecutions, and massacres. There was between this war between the political parties has been present around for years, from Independence Day to our days. Yeah, and it always has characterized by or for having the same final, some power in a specific or in a special in the government. I think that two events very bloody in the last century in our country, which are the Thousand Days War, the violence and drugs trafficking in the 90s. So okay.
Yo no sé qué personalmente. Yo soy un pueblo que me sigue porque se sigue a sí mismo cuando me sigue a mí por el expresado.
So this is a Gaetan speech I put in the slide because Gaetan he was an important, is a main character in the violence in Colombia, and I put this short audio because in this speech he talked about his or described his ideology as the in a country the first is the people, second the people, and third the people. So we all in Europe had ended the World War II. In Colombia, 3 years later, start the period of the violence. The violence start with the Jorge César Gaitán did. The Colombian people believed that he can change the situation of the most needy in this country, and so they didn't other way to convey their this content. For this that day was called the Bogotazo. So the first picture is Bogota semi-destroyed. The second on their hand left, you can see a young politician. He's he was Cuban, Fidel Castro. He was terrified of the power of the people, and who later did the same with his revolution in Cuba. And the last one picture, you can see the people, the Bogotan people, dragged to Juan Roa Sierra, the killer, and they say that he was crazy. Juan Roa Sierra thought he was Francisco de Paula Santander. Okay, in this slide, you can see one picture with the daters with there was no capacity in the cemeteries, with and the people looted the premises, and everyone was armed with guns and etc.
Habla Jorge Gaitán Durán. Doctor Mario Mesa Turmequé, doctor Mario Mesa Turmequé, organiza las milicias revolucionarias. Héctor José Rodríguez, que les ve en la Radio Nacional con informes sobre el movimiento. Pueblo Liberal de Colombia, el gobierno conservador ha caído. El doctor Gaitán empieza a ser vengado. Todos los demócratas de Colombia se han apoderado del control de la República. ¡Viva la Revolución Popular Izquierdista Colombiana! Aló, a los colombianos en el exterior, a los colombianos en el exterior, a los colombianos en el exterior. A la 1:30 del día 9 de abril de 1948, a la abril de 1948, mientras 14:15 fue asesinado por un policía conservador, el doctor Jorge Eliezer Gaitán.
So with audio is so long, but with in this case the radio incitement to the people to take the power and kill the president who was conservative. His name was Mariano Espina Perez. So in this case, I'm told about the main characters, but so there's big biographies. It's so long, but I'm going to short ideas. Yeah, the first picture is Jorge Eliezer Gaitán. I put in this position because he was for me he was a cause of the violence and is a starting point. Later, he is Laureano Gomez, who was the first minister, and he was conservative, and he intensified the war even more. And the last one is Gustavo Rojas Pinilla, because thanks to the dictatorship, he could calm the deeds a bit. Okay, the insurgents groups. So during this period, several characters and groups from both, yeah. The conservative, known as Los Chulavitas, from Boyacá, Los Pájaros from Valle del Cauca, and Peace Guerrillas become famous for the atrocious actions. And the liberal known as Los Cachiporros from Tolima. And from this, the FARC, ELN, and los paramilitares were derived. So the significant numbers. The conflict caused between 113,000 and 300,000 deaths, and the forced migration of more than 2 million people from the village to city, load the economy and the social, because the migration thanks to the insecurity for the insurgents groups. And the civil war took place in the central country, and believe that I think that the town and village and city were involved. So, and the last one. So I choose this topic because I am involved with this, because my maternal family were victim, in special my grandpa. So I'm going to talk about a short biography or a short anecdote with this. So my grandpa was born in Líbano, Tolima, on September 18 in 1939. So he lived a childhood at very hardly. His family was and is a liberal party. So when Jorge Cercaitan died, my grandpa was 9 years, and in this period, the first minister, Laureano Gomez, changed the thing and put the police against, with the liberal people, and so he and his father had to go to their house, and leave all the women of their family because the police, a conservative, going to kill them. He and his father traveled to Manizales, crossed the Páramo del Ruiz, and they had to sleep in a caves and ate very little until they arrived. His father changed his name. Later, he traveled to a small town, San Feliz, when they worked during 2 years, around 2 years, and they could buy a farm, and later mm, they can return to their house in the Lebanon, and for this, this picture is very important for our family because it was when they returned with their family, and when they arrived, the conservative police had taken everything from them. So this is my presentation. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Edward. Edward, but I have a question. Now, what do you think, no, or how do you think this history that has happened that you have told us about, how does it affect Colombia in the present? Today's Colombia.
So, teacher, I think that I say that the violence always has existed, yeah. But I think that the people want, if the people want to the power, always excited the violence. It's not the end. I think that no. And the effects is it's a big with the for example with the FARC and ALN. It's a consequence with this.
All right, amazing. Thank you, Edward. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Very
teacher.
interesting. All right, guys. So next we have Mariana. Mariana, what are you talking about?
Hey, teacher, I am talking about facing challenges, being a woman. Let me share you my screen.
Right, perfect.
Uh, I want to talk about facing challenges being a woman. Okay, and the woman's role in the industry, having the fruit of a large road of efforts, right? And nowadays, these efforts have started to show us results, right? And it's impossible to talk about this topic without saying that women, I'm sorry, have had during the our history some typical roles that now are being performed by men and women, right? Really, it should have been like this always, right? But how it wasn't like this, now we must think uh, that superwomen who have achieved so much, right? I want to start show you some women that for me mark history and have changed the world, right? And they market history and change our world, but unfortunately they hadn't the enough recognition in her time, right? I want to start with Marie Curie. Marie Curie is my favorite. Marie Curie was a daughter of the teachers in Varsovia, Polonia, that was educated for loving study, right? But in Polonia, in the time, women didn't have the right to study a career. That's why Marie moved on to Paris. And in Paris, she studied physics and mathematics. Also, when she moved on to Paris, she needed to learn other language and work for studying, right? Okay. Some years after finishing her career, she discovered the radio and polonium with her husband, right? Um, Curie was the first woman professor at the University of Paris. I am really proud of Marie Curie. And about Nobel Prizes, Marie Curie was the first woman in win a Nobel Prize and the first person in win a second Nobel Prize, right? Uh, okay, when her husband died for cancer in United States, uh, she amassed a little fortune and United States and Europe, and she found a laboratories and she developed cancer treatments as chemotherapy and radiation therapy, right? Um, my second woman is Ada Lovelace. Uh, Ada Lovelace is a British math and writer, right? And thanks to her imagination, her ability to see beyond immediate reality, has able to develop various sorry, concepts that are currently considered visionary, right? The most famous developed that refers uh, is the operation of the computer algorithm. Okay, since she published the first computer program in our history, right? And all give us the concept of a universal machine. What is that concept? That concept it means that any artifact could be programmed and reprogrammed to do any task, right? Okay, I'm going to continue with Gertrude Elion. Gertrude Elion is really, really important. She was an American physician and biochemistry. Um, Gertrude discovered, she only discovered treatments for leukemia, malaria, urinary infections, herpes, and meningitis. And also, She discovered the first drug capable of destroying a virus and or treating the BAH, no, HIV, AIDS, right? And finally, she won the Nobel Prize in medicine because her medications made organ transplantations possible, right? Okay, mm, these three women are just some of the long list to which we owe or equal present between two big quotes. Why? Why? Because big quotes. I'm sorry. Because even if a woman stands out in an industry, she rarely does in the main actor or as a leader, right? Here we can see that for me are icons. For example, Malala. Malala, the fights of Malala is that Pakistani girls and women can access education on equal terms with men, right? And this war, for say it in a way, put her life in danger, right? And she was awarded in 2014, yes, in 2014 with a Peace Nobel Prize, right? What about Angela Merkel? Angela Merkel is a German physicist and politician who has been um, chancellor since 25, right? And highlights the economic success or her tenure as a result of intelligent leadership, right? Angela Merkel, Angela Merkel, I'm sorry, has been president of G8, I'm sorry, also the European Council. She has also been Minister of Women, Minister of Environmental and Nuclear Safety. And I want to speak of Adriana Ocampo. Adriana Ocampo is a Colombian planetary geologist and director of the NASA Science Program. Nowadays, Adriana is considered one of the most influential women scientists in our world, right? So uh, I said before that woman, unfortunately, we rarely does in in our positions like a leader or the main actor, right? This has changed thanks to the contribution of many women who are demonstrating that the women are equal or even though better than men. But unfortunately, it hasn't changed in a generalized ways, and especially in our world part, right? We start we like women start at our story in a unnakedable, I don't remember the pronunciation, a nakedable position, but we have gone demonstrating and winning, right? I say it because all of us can see to Angela Merkel, Adriana Campo, Angelina, Claudia Lopez, or including Michelle Obama, and think that really we achieved to be in the same positions as men, right? And in some sense, could be true, but it is really like this. My answer is no. Why no? Because the glass roof exists, and the unequal positions is obvious. In a in the invisible barriers are too evident in simple things like salary for the same position, or or when an industry prefer to select a man for senior positions. I'm not trying to to provoke a feminazi movement or something like that. No, but I want I want you to be more conscious about our real condition, guys, and that we know that although there are laws, yes, laws and measures to promote gender equality, but that equality is born from us when we want and dream to go very far, and from homes when fathers teach teach us by example that women are capable, are valuable, exactly that's right? I think that this barrier is more mental, right? I say all of this not with the aim of competitive with men, right? But rather of sharing the world with him. Yes, sharing the world with him, right? But in equal conditions and possibilities. So we must unite our efforts to build a more human, more inclusive, and more comprehensive world for the benefit of all of us. And no more guilt, we can do it. Thanks a lot.
Mariana, this was a very powerful presentation.
Yes.
Mariana, well, one question. Well, it's two questions in one. Which of these women or another one, I don't know, has inspired you, Mariana, the most, and why?
Oh, teacher Marie Curie.
Why?
First of all, because I am engineer, so I used Marie Curie all my career. But teacher, she developed the cancer treatment, right? The chemotherapy, and if you say was in the last century, but teacher, today we use for cancer chemotherapy and radiotherapy, right? And I think that it was a amazing because it born because her husband died of cancer. It's a genius, but with heart.
That's powerful too.
Yes,
Amazing, Mariana. Thank you so much.
thanks to
All
her
right,
teacher.
guys. So next we have Daniela. So Daniela's topic is really interesting, right?
Yes. Okay, I'm going to talk about the true history of Cinderella.
Perfect.
Right. Okay. True history of Cinderella. Okay. Many of us know the history of Cinderella, girl who was mistreated by her stepmother and stepsister, and who managed to marry with the prince. There is Charles Perrault's version that Disney based on, but this isn't the only story that was written. For this, in this presentation, I want to tell you about two versions. Okay, the first version that I want to tell you is the story written by Brothers Grimm. Okay, this story has several likenesses, such the Cinderella's mother death, her father gets married again, and her stepmother and stepsister mistreat her. Also has difference where her father doesn't dead, her father was evil, and he also tries Cinderella like a maid. Instead, the fairy godmother, she has a tree which she plants in the grave of her mother, in which there are a bird that gives her wishes. In this picture, you can see the bird and the tree. Okay, the other difference is that in the version of Disney, the shoes of Cinderella was of crystal, but in this version, the shoes of Cinderella was of gold. In this picture, you can see the shoe. Okay. Okay. This story begins with the dead Cinderella's mother. She visits her mother's reign in the garden of her house every day. After this, her father gets married again to a woman who has two daughters, which they made the Cinderella life was really hard. One day, the prince organized a dance that lasts 3 days. Cinderella had a beautiful dress that the bear gave her for the dance. She, without any member of her family realizing it, went to the dance, and there she was able to dance with the prince. But she didn't tell her name and left the dance at 12 p.m. The same thing happened the second night, but in the third night, the prince put glue in the stairs on. When Cinderella escaped, they one shot. When the prince saw Cinderella escape, he went after her and he could see where she was hidden. Later, the prince went to Cinderella's house and he met with Cinderella's stepsister, that is here, which by order of her mother could part her foot so that the food would fit them in the chute. But the prince noticed this shirt, so she began to bleed. In this picture, you can see the foot and the blood. Okay. The prince, Cinderella's died, he had other daughter, and there is when Cinderella showed herself. When he saw Cinderella, he knew it was her. As the show was perfect for her, he took her for the palace. He got married with her. There is the end of Cinderella. I think that is happy ending for her, but for her stepsister was a painful end because the bears pulled out their eyes and they become blind. Okay. The second story that I want to tell you is the story that was writer. The the story the writers based themselves to write Cinderella. That is the Chen. Okay, this history happened in the Tang Dynasty, which considered the little fair like beautiful symbol. In this picture, you can see the little fet and they chose the poo in the time. In the time. Okay. An interesting note about the Tang Dynasty is that men could have several wives. Okay. This story is about a beautiful girl named Chen. Beautiful but her tiny pet. After the death of her mother, the first wife of her dad, Chen started to live with her stepmother. The second wife of her father will mistreat her in the time she lived in display. Okay. One day, the dance where men choose her couple arrived. So the evil stepmother, to look Chen is more beautiful than her daughter, locked her. For that, she didn't go to the dance. Chen had magic feet. In this picture, you can see the feet. And her stepmother knew about the e-power, so she decided cut it and eat it, only leaving the thorns. Sorry. Chen killed the thorns. We also was magic, and it helped Chen went to the dance. The magic lasts a little, so she left the dance quickly. But when she left the party by Rason fast, she left a shoe that is was of gold. One person found it and took him to the emperor. Okay. When the emperor saw the shoe, he started to looking for the owner of this shoe. When he arrived at Chen house, the stepmother decided to parts of your daughter food for the shoe will fit. Okay. The plan worked, but the lie was discovered quickly as she begins to bleed. Then the Chen put a show and it fits perfectly. Then she gets married with the emperor, and the stepmother and her daughter are sentenced to death, thrown into a well and stoned to death. Okay, this is my presentation.
Great, Daniela. Now, I had heard that this story about the Tang Dynasty, about these shoes, but I never imagined that it was related to Cinderella, right? So what do you think was like the major change between like the original Grimm Brothers story and Disney?
I think
And
that when the sister cooks their part of their food for the shows feed in the fed. For me, it's the change more notable that they have.
okay, it is. All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Daniela.
Okay.
So, guys, next we have Valentina. Valentina, what are you talking about?
Well, I won't tell you right now because I'll tell you later. Okay.
Okay, perfect. So Valentina is making kind of an interactive presentation. So we will be sharing some links in the chat box of our YouTube transmission. So whenever she indicates, we can access to it and participate a little more in it, right?
All right.
All right.
So here I go. So can you see my screen? Okay, and you're not seeing the controls, right?
No, we're not.
Okay, so welcome everyone. My name is Valentina Quintero and I am an upper B student, right? So before starting, I would like you to go to the first link or to try to scan with your cell phone this QR code to enter to a web page, right? To write in one word your first thought or impression by looking at this image over here, right? So as the teacher sends the link to the chat in
The
YouTube.
chat.
Yeah. And I'll share it with my partners. So, but I basically want you to do is to enter to that link and tell me what's your first thought or impression while looking at that image. Like like you can write whatever you think. Like don't be afraid of writing what came to your mind. For example, I can see that the image and think about Halloween or costumes, whatever. Just feel free of writing what you think. And while you write, so we can say here, darkness, death, black death, fear, pandemic, legends. Horror movies. Okay, Call of Duty. Okay, well, mystery, fear. All right. So those were some of your impressions, right? So, well, my presentation goes, you will be able to identify if you were like close to what I was gonna talk about or if you weren't, right? Okay, to continue, today I'm gonna talk about the Black Death. Some of you can be wondering about what Black Death was, what do I mean when talking about this topic or whatever. This was a pandemic as we're living through right now that was especially had the center in Eurasia and Africa by the 14th century, right? Some general aspects about this is that there was a disastrous mortal disease and a pandemic, right? So this was like one of the greatest catastrophe ever in the human history, let's say, because as not as right now, but worse, it affected not only the social aspect, but also politics, economics, and well, many other things like globally. This this event took place the 14th in the 14th century, and it reached its highest level of infection by the 1346 to the 1353. And even though many experts had tried to do research and find answers to what this effect event was, well, they haven't get any conclusion yet, right? So there are like many ideas that they have, but what they know is that one bacterium called Yersinia pestis was the one that causes this pandemic, right? And where this bacterium came from, it is still unknown. Like they don't know, it just appeared and it started killing a lot of people. Well, now where did it start? First, it started in Asia, right? To be honest, China was the one in charge of spreading the pandemic, right? But even when it arrived to Europe, studies said that many years ago, like even centuries, the sickness had already like born, but by that time they didn't have like a lot of transportation and that stuff, so they weren't like how to say it, like it wasn't that easy to spread, right? So first it was in Asia, and the center was China, then it went to Italy, and it started spreading to whole Europe, part of Africa, Egypt, and many other parts of the world. Like it also reached the whole world. Now I want you to go to this other QR code that I have and the down part. I said that that's right, left hand, I guess, of the screen of. If you can't read it, I will send you a link too. Or anyway, I'm gonna share the screen too. All right, this can be kind of stupid, right? But it's just a short video, as you can see on my screen. So this here is basically the port of Messina. This was in Italy. That's like an actual map about of Port of Messina. But I wanted you to see that they have a really important port, and it's having only been like nowadays, but also since many years ago, like a lot of centuries ago, right? So okay, that was basically that. So to continue, let's talk about the spreading. So as I told you, by that time they didn't have like airplanes or ways to communicate easy, but they have like some maritime route, maritime economic routes, um, where they can like change trades and goods, well, whatever, right? So the spreading started because of 12 ships that arrived to the port of Messina, in which most of the sailors that were in the ships, like abroad in the ships, were dead, and the ones that were alive, most of them were sick, like almost about to die, right? They were infected by the pandemic. Let's say, but that in Europe, they by that time they thought they heard about the greatest pandemic and that stuff, but they never thought that it was going to reach them, right? So that was basically the first thing that started infecting the other people. But not only that, but also in those ships, rats, as you can see in my PowerPoint presentation, rats and fleas were also infected, and they came in those ships. So they started infecting the other animals and the other people as well. So that was like really hard by that time because there wasn't any medicine or anything to treat it, but just like what they thought could work. For example, some flowers or medicines that they can do by their own, right? So yes, basically humans, like it started spreading pretty fast. People get infected like humans, but not only humans, but also animals. For example, cows, sheep, and well, yes, many other animals. But also the infection was through airborne transmissions, right? So if you talk to someone that was infected, then you also got infected, right? Okay, now there were three kinds of pandemic, let's say. Like one was in the lungs, the other one in the other one in the blood, and the other one were both together. And almost like all of them had the same symptoms. So they had fever, vomit, weaknesses, delirium, loss of memory, internal bleeding, insomnia, terrible aches and pain, and some like liquids can go could go inside their lungs. So like if they get infected in a short time, they could easily die. So their family had to let them, like if for example you had your mom sick, well, you had to go, because if not, you would also die, right? Now, to finish, some curiosities. The first image that I show you, some of you, yes, wrote Black did, some others just did, and you were like pretty neat about what I was gonna talk about, right? And this custom that you can see over here, that was the doctor's custom. By that time, the doctors and the priors, like they didn't want to get in contact with the people, and they were also always avoiding like going to their patients or going to the church, you know. So what doctors did was to wear a lot of things to protect themselves. So first they wore like a t-shirt, then their jeans, then their shoes, and what their socks and everything. But later they put a hat, their mask, glasses. They use a rope and like a stick to yeah, to get people away, the one that were infected. Also the cape, gloves, well, and boats. Like it was super, like a lot of things and elements they used to get protected from their patients and not get infected, you know. So that was basically what they much meant. Yeah, meant. Second, I don't know if you wonder at the beginning of the presentation, what do we call it? Black Death, right? Well, there are two theories about that. The first one is that it was possible that that was a wrong translation of the Latin, right? So they just put it in the way because they didn't know how to translate the word that they had in Latin. But the second one is, as I told you, they suffer internal bleeding, right? So their skin turned black. So it was like black their hands or whatever part of whichever part of their body. Then that was like super strange, and they call it Black Death. You know. Also, it was one of the greatest catastrophe ever. Also because it killed like a lot of people. Many people died, and just in Russia, by the time it was like its center, 60% of the population died. Of the Russian population died. So that was like a lot. And finally, I don't know if you wonder if that cell still exists. So well, I was like so amazed because yes, this still exists. The black that still exists, but fortunately now doctors like got control, let's say, in the sickness, so they could create some medicines in order to prevent that sicknesses, that illness, sorry. And when, for example, someone's sick of like that, what they do is to take that person to quarantine, and well, and treat it with medicines and that stuff. But like every year, around 1,000 to 3,000 people die because of like that, you know. Yes, that was basically my presentation.
Valen, amazing. It's so interesting.
Thank you.
And like, since we're living a pandemic right now, we feel that we're special or that we just live this particular moment in history, but with like ignoring that this has happened before. Can you make a I don't know. Can you make a relationship between this pandemic that we're living in right now and the Black Death pandemic?
Yes, of course. And you know, that's something that I realized when preparing my presentation, because like now we sometimes feel like sorry because of everything that's happening, you know, because we felt terrible and that stuff. But that time, like there's no comparison, because by that time it was worse. It was even worse. Like yes, people had to go quarantine and that stuff, but even animals were getting infected, you know, like even animals. So what did they eat? And they didn't have any like hospital to go because there wasn't the technology to help the illness, right? So right now we're pretty lucky. We're pretty lucky because we have scientists, experts, hospitals, technological things and machines that help us to go and overcome these difficulties, right? We can stay at home and nothing happens. But even if you like, but that time, even if you get like bit by a mosquito or a flea or a rat, whatever, then you get infected. So that was like super hard. So I don't think that there's a comparison, because by that time it was really hard, like super hard. And now we just have to wear a mask, but they look what they had to wear, you know. So it's something pretty different. And yes, like I don't know, I don't think there's a point of comparison. And yeah, that's it.
And also, that suit comes straight from a nightmare. All right,
Yeah.
guys. So thank you, Aldina, so much. Amazing presentation. Your fluency is just fabulous. All right, talking about fluency, next we have Felipe. Felipe, what are you talking about?
Uh, can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Today I'll be talking about some interesting topic, maybe weird for you. I don't know. I'm going to
I
talk
love
about
your
food.
topics.
So I'm going to share screen. Wait. So wait 1 minute. So can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right. Wait. This is the presentation. Let me organize here. So you see my PowerPoint presentation, right?
Perfectly.
All right. So first, I'm going to talk about me, so you get to know me a little bit more. Um, my favorite novel, well, The Hunger Games. Sorry if you hear some background noise. But yeah, that's my favorite novel. Maybe you know the movie, so you're familiar with that. But mostly, I love the books because, well, I find them more interesting and more detailed. And then I have my favorite uh, book of universal literature, which is the Divine Comedy. Um Borges used to say that this was, like the most perfect piece of art in humanity. So that's an interesting fact, I guess. And I recommend you to read it. It's really interesting. But basically, about personal things, I'm looking forward to become a English teacher, just as teacher Diana, right? And well, I really like physics, and just like you will see in the next slides. So, closer look into the universe and physics. Here we have our dear Albert Einstein. I think you might know him. Well, um, first we have some fundamentals. Let's ask yourself this question: like, what is physics? Like, what do you think about uh, when you hear the word physics? Well, if you ask me, mostly I think about like all the fundamental forces that we have in the universe. Um, but if you need a more technical concept, I would say that basically physics try to describe the universe or to define all the measurable quantities in order to make correlations from what we can see. Then we have astrophysics, which is something more specific. Uh, for example, when we talk about, well, how the planets move, how are they orbits, or what is the sun made of? Uh, how's our galaxy, right? Those are astrophysics questions because they have to do with all the celestial objects in space. Um, then we have what is the universe. I this is a very this has a very simple answer. The universe is basically everything that you can see, everything that you can touch, uh, everything that you can feel. Uh, but I guess in this presentation, I will define the universe as everything. Well, as far as we know, uh, or all the galaxies, or the solar systems, uh, black holes, everything, matter itself. Then we have, well, let's start by a little trajectory of physics. Um, this is an astronomical model. So, as you might know, as we were taught in school, um, the sun is at the center of uh, that's why it is called the solar system, right? But 2003 years ago, people used to think that, well, the Earth was at the center, um, and also that the Earth was flat, um, which I'm going to explain right now. So Aristotle thought that, well, do you know like uh, what are the eclipse, lunar eclipse, right? There's the picture here. Wait, uh, there we have it. Here we have the solar eclipse. There you can see the picture, which is basically round. The Earth, that's the Earth's shadow, uh, which is somehow round. So uh, the Earth cannot be flat. That's impossible because if the Earth was flat, uh, then we wouldn't have um, a round shadow, right, in the moon. So that's basically what Aristotle thought, and then he placed the Earth at the center of our system. Why? Well, you know that back in those days, by that time, uh, Aristotle or uh, philosophers had some mystical reasons that made them think that we were the center of everything. So that's why he placed the Earth at the center. Um, so there we have the astronomical models. So like scientists were not really happy with this concept of the Earth being in the center. Like that didn't make sense at all according to observations. So then we have Copernicus, Nicholas Copernicus, um, which postulated that instead of the Earth being in the center, the sun was in the center. which made more sense. But there was a little mistake here. As you can see in the drawing, in the graphic, um, all the orbits, all those circles, they're perfectly round. They're just circles, and circles are perfect. But as we know these days, the orbits of the planets are not completely circular. They're somehow elliptical, they're not perfect. But this was like the first step to consider a system where the sun was the center. Then we have the astronomical model of Galileo Galilei and Johannes Kepler. Um, and this is the model that we know these days, where the sun is at the center again, but the orbits of the planets are elliptical. As you can see, they're not circular at all. They're not perfect, which by that time was really difficult to accept because, well, church wanted, everything related to humans, like to be perfect. And well, unfortunately for them, for the church, uh, scientists couldn't accept that the orbits were circular, and according to their observations, that wasn't possible. They had to be elliptical, and well, there you have it. There was also something interesting that allowed them to discover this. Is the fact that by that time Galileo created the first telescope, right, which allowed him to observe the stars, the planets. He observed that in Jupiter, there were some satellites or moons that orbited around Jupiter itself, which made them believe that not everything has to orbit around the Earth. So that's why they start to think that, well, maybe it is true, the sun is the center of our system. Um, and then, well, came Isaac Newton in 1687. Basically, after Galileo and Kepler proposed that model where the sun is at the center, still they couldn't figure out how the planets orbited the sun. Like, why? Why is the reason? What makes them orbit the sun, right? There were some like theories like magnetic forces, but that didn't make sense at all because they had to be very strong. So then Isaac Newton came with the universal law of gravitation, which basically you might know it as, well, Isaac Newton, he was under a tree, he was, thinking, I don't know, about the universe, and then an apple fell on his head, right? This is just like, this is not true. It didn't happen. It's just like, um, I don't know how people invented this, but this didn't happen to him. Like an apple didn't fall his head. Um, but it's just basically like something for people to understand better. So he was wondering like if objects like an apple can fall, right? They fall. There must be a reason why they do that. Then he started to analyze also the objects in space, and he started to think like, well, there must be something that make them move, or that make them move around the sun or orbit around the sun. And then he postulated that there was a force um, between objects with mass, right? So that's why like we, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, they all orbit around the sun because the sun has more mass than the other planets. So the more mass the object has, the stronger the force is. So this allowed like a lot of discoveries. He also postulated all the mathematics to describe the movements of orbits of planets and etc. There we are in my favorite part, which is general relativity. I don't know if you know about general relativity, but I'm sure that you know Albert Einstein, which is the author of this theory. This is a really complex topic, but uh, like I discovered that we really tend to see things the complicated way. Uh, and in fact, we can understand things easily just as we pay attention to them. So let's focus on this. Um, like in the first discoveries of Albert Einstein was he postulated that light of speed, the speed of light, was constant. It never changed, no matter what. But he needed something to prove that. In his theory, gravity of Newton was not possible to fit to how do you say that? Yes, like it didn't match his predictions. So what I'm going to explain right now is something really complex, but we'll see. As you can see in the picture below, the purple one, which has a guy with a lantern, right? He's in a rocket going upwards in space. He's accelerating upwards 9.8 meters second per second, which is the gravity of our planet. In fact, if you are in that rocket, you wouldn't have to feel the difference. Uh, you wouldn't know that you're in a rocket because basically you will feel that you're on Earth. There would be no change at all. Now, there was this experiment that what happens if I use a lantern and I point it to the other side of the room, right? You will think like, well, nothing happens. It just gets there to the other point of the wall. Um, but that's not really what happens. As you can see in the purple picture, uh, like the height of the other on the other side is different, is lower. Why? Because the rocket is going upwards, so it's curving light. Uh, then we go to the picture above, uh, which is a picture on Earth, is a room on Earth. As you can see, the height is the same, like the light gets to the other side, but that's a mistake. Why? Because there's a principle called equivalency, which basically says that, uh, well, if we are accelerating upwards in space, it should be the same on Earth. So there was, like Einstein was like, think like, hey, I don't understand this. Like, there's something missing. And then he came with a very creative answer, which many scientists rejected. He said that gravity is not a force, but a modification of a space. As you can see in the other picture behind, right, where you can see the Earth and some curvature under the Earth, right? Um, so like that's basically the explanation. Uh, if you point a beam of light through it, it it cannot go straight because it needs something to move through. So it moves under, and that's why it curves. Um, a little bit complicated, I know, but if I have time, I'll explain. Let's continue. Then, what do we have right now, like physics, 21st century? There have been some discoveries, very interesting discoveries. I don't know if you know uh, Stephen Hawking. Uh, I really like all the theory of Stephen Hawking. Basically, he made some discoveries of black holes, a lot of stuff, which made us understand how black holes behave, Hawking radiation, well, a lot of stuff, which is not relevant. It's not relevant right now. I just wanted you to know. Um, and there have been a lot of discoveries, and you might be wondering like, why is this important, right? Uh, well, it is important because of this, the unified field theory. What is the unified field theory? Um, in simple words, the unified field theory tries to explain, um, like the nature of everything, how everything is related, all the connections in just one single theory. If you didn't know, like all the theories in this scientific community, they, sometimes they don't make sense. They are opposite to each other. Like For example, in general relativity, the gravity of Newton doesn't make sense in general relativity. So like, what's going on? Like, what do we have to do to understand how the universe works? So that's what they are trying to do right now, which is the unified field theory, to explain everything itself in one single theory, which I find very difficult. But I hope that one day everything will be possible. Well, I guess that's it. Like, thanks for your time. I tried to explain things very briefly. I know it's complicated yet, but still, I guess you're wondering, like, why is this important, right? And as a physicist would say, like, these are questions that deserve to be answered. For example, um, what is gravity itself? We still, like, yet we don't know what gravity is. Like, I can ask you what gravity is, and you would say, no, it's the force between the mass, uh, between objects, you know, like that made things objects fall, right? But I ask you, like, why? Like, what? Why? That's, you know, like the most difficult question to answer. Like, what? Why does gravity exist, and what makes gravity make objects fall? So that's like one of the most complex questions that someone could ever be asked. Uh, but still, there are questions that deserve to be answered. Yeah, well, that's what scientists have tried to do during the last centuries. Um, I don't know if you have any questions. I guess that's it. Thanks for your time.
Well, Felipe, I had a question, but you answered it.
Wait a minute, teacher. Okay.
You answered my question. But yeah, like it's a heavy topic, but as you said, like it's these are things that we need to understand, right? These are concepts that we live by. So totally. And you're gonna make an amazing English teacher. I can say. All right, amazing. Felipe, well, I wouldn't have like made a better presentation than you. So kudos. Amazing. All right, guys. So next we have Marce. Marcela, what are you talking about?
Okay, teacher, I'm talking about benefits or care or your body. One moment.
Absolutely necessary. I love it. All right, go.
What moment I share the screen. Okay, you can see the screen?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, teacher. I'm talking about or care or benefits.
Marce, wait, you're not showing yet. I think that you need to click on habilitar edición and then you can like show the.
You can see well, teacher.
No, I mean we can see the PowerPoint, but just like you're not presenting. But I think you need to habilitar edición.
Oh, teacher.
No, not necessarily. You can just go down and start presenting, like next to the Zoom, the part you can zoom. And those buttons, the down part, Marce, you can click and you start presenting.
Where?
Like go down where you can zoom.
Mm-hmm.
Look, there are some buttons over there.
Here.
I am not seeing where you.
We don't see your pointer.
No, teacher, I don't know what happened.
Yes, habilita edición.
Teacher, what moment? You can see now.
No, we can see just the front page, like.
Okay, I try again.
Okay, but habilita edición. Okay, now try again. No, you don't need to activate the. Try again.
No.
Okay, now try.
No, teacher.
But try using full screen. Down. like next to the zoom bar. No, the other side.
Next, yeah, next to comment. Go down, Marce.
Down, further down.
No,
No, you don't have to move that yet. No,
No,
not that
teacher.
vertical one. Wait, can you see like below the presentation, you have notas, comentarios, yes?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, there's the fourth button
The last button.
on your right. Okay, no, next, left.
No, teacher.
Marce, yes. You can see you have 85% of Zoom, you know?
Yes.
Okay, on your right, left, on your left, you can see the first icon.
Mm-hmm.
Ahí.
Where? No, teacher.
Marce,
I
you
don't.
can see the
I
Zoom
don't
bar.
see.
The
Yes.
Zoom bar.
In the corner.
Yes.
Okay, there's the first button that is next to it.
No, teacher.
Teacher, can you write on the screen like to show
Oh,
her
of
where it
course.
is?
Yes, teacher.
Thank you.
Help me, please.
Here.
That bottom,
No,
Marce.
teacher. I very lost. No.
Yes, perfect.
Yes.
I know, teacher. Very lost. Very lost. Okay. Now, I'm talking about benefits or care of body. Our body, they are main source of everything. It has allow us to communicate, sharing things mainly for our movement. That it's important to take care of our body or has time for it with some care likes. Also, it's necessary to open your mind with some exercise and allow us to exercise the mind. For example, for better vision on a game or activity that is very relaxing and fun is to be able to have a black mind. It is difficult, but the person who tries to get it, the result is very pleasant. I think all the time our body are exposed as to hard work, to stress, or energy is depleted by our working life or our daily routine. It's important to take care of a break, a few minutes a day to bring and recover our body again. Some people to resort to massage, and other people prefer to travel. Others just only stay at home. Cold. Many knows that the cold is very great, alive for benefits for our body or for skin. Day therapy is very good to improve circulation, avoid vascular circulation, vascular problems. This help to control inflammation is very essential to rejuvenating the skin for your skin. Helps to dark circles under your eyes and helps to have more hydrated and is very important to reduce our stress. For example, in this photography, these famous like this type of massages because for them it's very important to care their skin and healthy and without wrinkles. Chocolate. For chocolate love it is very important and relaxing because this is a therapy very relaxing and nutritive for our skin. Many know that the chocolate has many calories and that allow us our body has a relaxation of extreme sensation for humor stimulate their properties. Chocolate has many benefits for all our body. Another alternative is water. The water is very relaxing and is very relaxing for some people and is very important for take exercise because they exercise and their movements not do not require more much effort that do it. Art therapies to help to match to avoid mobility in a more healthy way than other therapy. Water it help to match to relax a muscles and is very important. They are water in the bed therapy after the surgery. It helps to reduce inflammation. Nature. I think many people, including myself, like quiet place around by nature. I think it's the best therapy for your body and for your mind because it is allows us to have more knowledge about things, analyze better, dedicate time, and open your mind. I sometimes should have to feel a breeze, air, or how beautiful and energy nature is. Music. This is very important for many people because this is the most memory. This is the most important for the memory. It allows um, to remove to the press. Listen to music have been to remove memories poaching. For example, in some case, the person suffers from Alzheimer's. Doctor recommending the people listen to music because for them is very important. They can remember the lyrics, and this exercise is very important to remind and not specific people suffer the Alzheimer, but is for everyone. Okay, places. The places beautiful and wonderful transmit an calm or a great uh, routine cleanness when a brain with someone so magic and calm or body relaxed and wants more for this positive energy. Your in some case your body feels a sensation of adrenaline for on disconnecting the daily routine. Uh, Exercise that allow us to have a more healthy circulation. It's important to have our muscles healthy and strong. Um, Many people have this exercise because they transmit calm and happiness. For example, uh, swimming, dancing, cooking, maybe handicraft, and they have an activity. Many people do it is yoga because it allows us to eliminate toxins and it's important for the people have or a better circulation. Okay, food. This is very important for our body and for our mind all the time because it's allow us to have energy, uh, open your mind and something like that. In this, it's important eat to vegetables, fruits, and water, and nuts and dried fruits. Okay, I am finished. Thank you for listening. I hope you like my topic.
Thank you so much, Marce. Now I have a question. Which of these, like all of these amazing habits, we should like definitely include them in our lives, right? Which one of these is one that I don't know you really struggled with including in your life? Which one
Teacher,
was difficult for you to start?
teacher, for me, the nature. For me, it's very interesting, very beautiful, the nature. For me, it's very relaxing. I open your mind. This does stress. Uh, I think for me is the best.
Amazing. All right, Marta, thank you so much. Now,
Okay.
next we have Manu. What are you talking about today?
Okay, I'm going to talk about how impact the technology our jobs.
Perfect.
Mm. Can you see?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, I'm going to present you Embrace the Future of Work. First, like we all know, we had lived a lot of revolution. We have the first revolution when was invented like the new machines, like like I sorry like the first revolution when we was invented the time machine, and the second revolution when was invented like the new series productions. And then we have the third revolution when improve like the communication and start to create like the new technology. And now we are living the fourth revolution. So like I said, today we are living like the fourth revolution, and it's past like a new knowledge, like new creative, it's appreciate more like intellectual capital, internet things, new technology, creativity, skills, and value the goods. For example, in the second revolution, we have like new series production when it's more it was more important to create a quantity products, and now it's more value to create quality products. Okay, so some people said that with a lot of technology that we are having today, it probably will be like a threat for our jobs, because today we have like a new algorithms, nanotechnology, artificial intelligence, and there are inventions every day that are replace our jobs. So it creates like it's scary us because we don't know what is going to have with the jobs that we know today. For example, in developed countries, some robots already start to replace human jobs. And it creates also the concerns that the possible replacement of jobs we know today. But what is really our problem? It's the new technology, or we have another problem? Well, I think that the problem is not like the new inventions that we have. Is not like the new technology. The problem is like is that we have new labor demands. For example, when in this fourth revolution, like the production change. Like I said before, some people, sorry, prefer like to the quality products. So the jobs are asking and looking for people who have soft skills, adaptability, change, time management, collaboration, and perception. And these have in common that a robot cannot do all this, because a robot cannot think, cannot, like, for example, if we have a problem in some product, a human can like solve the problem very quickly, but the robot cannot do that, cannot do that because there have like a programmation, so there are like no program to do that. So that's the world has changed, and as for us to have soft skills. So what employees are safe from the automatization? All the jobs that are now routine. In this fourth revolution, we are playing a new game. And when we start like to play a games with our friends, and the game that we don't know, we have to do, we have to learn how is the game and how are the rules of the game. So in this fourth revolution, we are playing a new game, like we have a new rules, and if we know how to play this game, well, we are going to play very good. For example, the people who have high levels of education and skills can be more adaptable to the new environment, but the people who have low levels are at risk of being replaced, because are the people who have worked like a routine. For example, the people who work in a restaurant for a waitress, or the people who deliver the food, or the people to work like in a company in the part of like the series production. So we have to learn to play the new rules. For example, in some developed countries, for example, in Japan, McDonald's already replaced their workers to deliver the food and to prepare their food. For example, we can see in the two pictures. And for example, in United States, start already to use drones to deliver the food. For example, we can see Domino's. So the people who have these jobs, well, they don't know what to do, because their work was replaced. And for example, in this picture that we have like a woman that it's supposed to be driving, but no, they are in her phone, because the car is self-driving. So, and this is already happening in developed countries. And for example, in this moment in 2020, in 2020, yes, in this center, we have already new jobs that we didn't have like 12 years ago. Like for example, content creator, the developer apps. We have also the remote work that start to emerge more in this year, because all the pandemics. And of course, we have like in the picture that in the last picture, people and jobs that are creating every day, solving the necessities we have every day. For example, new jobs like engineer, driver's car engineer, and drone operator. and there are a lot of jobs that this like a few examples. So today we are facing like a challenge because our world is always changing. Every day we face like a new challenge, new decision we have to take. And for example, us that we are students and we are like facing like when we graduate, we are like looking for jobs and looking for new things to do. Well, I think that we have to start to adapt to all the changes. We cannot like to stop the changes because I said, no, I don't want to change, so I'm going to stay like who I am. No, I think that we every day, every year, we have to evolve. We have to be better. We have to be more originals and not have afraid to try. Always be learning to do new things and always learning. So to finish, I have this phrase: we never have bad ideas. The bad idea is not to try and create new things. Thank you.
Manu, amazing. Now I have a question for you. Manu, how long do you think it's going to take to see all these advances in technology here in Colombia? Is it ever going to happen?
I think it's going to happen, but I think it's going to be a little. It's not going to happen so quickly like in developed countries because, for example, here in Colombia came the Uber, for example, and because all the people that are stopped to change don't want to change, so because they are scared, of course. For example, the taxi drivers, they are scared because they think, well, the Uber came, so what I'm going to do, because all the jobs are decreasing, so what I'm going to do. So it creates like a lot of scare, afraid of, so that I think for example, the Uber, all the people like create a mass of revolution, for example, and expel the Uber of the country. So, but I think that is like that thing that stop us to like to have to give the welcome to a new technology, because some people say that, well, we have to be better, and this country, I don't know, have so many problems. That's why we are developing country, because there's nothing like there are no jobs or something like that. But I think that the problem is not the problem that we are facing, but the problem is like we don't embrace the new technology in our country.
That is very true. Thank you. Thank you so much, Manu. All right, guys, so we have one more presentation, right? And it's Camilo. So Camilo, tell us about your presentation.
Okay, wait a moment, please. Okay, present. Here. Can you see?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I will try to do this really fast because we have had a lot of time here. So my exposition is about the feminist journalism of the feminist activism. And I want to talk about one case, that is the Ciro Guerra's case. And I will try to give you some thoughts about the feminist journalism. Okay, here we have the Ciro Guerra. I think that you can remember the nomination of the Oscar with his movie, The Embrace of the Serpent. In 2016, it was the first time when the Colombian movie received a nomination for the best foreigner motion picture. Yeah, so I think that is a hero, a Colombian hero. But this is the story of the fallen of the hero, of this hero, and we have another new heroes, that is the feminist journalist, because the last on June 24th, a journalistic website named Volcanicas published a report with 8 testimonies of women that suffer sexual abuses and harassments by the director. So Volcanica's website was broke out with this report, yeah, and it was presented at the website of Latin American feminist and journalistic media. And in my perspective, they founded the beginning of informative feminist journalism in Colombia. So, out of during the last years, Colombian could read and watch American feminist news about Harvey Weinstein, the director, or Jeffrey Epstein, that is an entrepreneur in a lot of fields, and Kate Granier, that is the leader of an organization named Nexium. And although we read about these stories, Volcanicas finally, with Volcanicas, we finally understood that the local feminist has started to use the journalism too. So in Colombia, the feminists take the journalism to give to take a lot of a more force in the struggle. Yeah. So we will try to explain about feminist journalism with 3 questions. The first, how can feminism produce journalism? How does feminist journalism like Volcanicas achieve the principle of impartiality? That is important, because one of the critics that Volcanicas receive is that they don't use the impartiality in the journalism. But I think that this is false. And the third one and the last one is if the feminist journalism is not an abuse or is an abuse of journalism. So we can see why feminist journalism. Nowadays, many activists have been producing their information. You can see at the left hand side the logos of the image of a lot of NGOs and organizations that are producing their information and creating their own spaces to publish their informative content. So, we can see human rights activists, environmental and ecology activists, different NGOs that produce and publish their reports, their data, their visualizations, and other transmedia content. On the internet and social media, they compete with the typical broadcasters, no newspapers, and compete with the traditional news, because they also want to inform the audience and create a different opinion about their struggles, about their matters and whatever. So, could the feminist activists use the same information strategy? Why not? Yeah, the feminism can use the journalism to present, to show to the audience their data, their investigations, their complaints. So I think that is the idea of Volcanicas. Has an activism, has a struggle, has a school of thought, has a differential approach, that is the feminism. Feminism has recovered a lot of information, data, historical documents, official documents, private documents. So as a result, the feminists have created their own journalism because they need to tell, and the agenda of the media, of the traditional media, could be in silence, or could has a fear, well, with this kind of topics, yeah, with this kind of matters. So this is this is the origin of Volcanicas. The feminism need in Colombia need spaces to show information. So in Colombia we had like Las Igualadas in El Espectador, but this is a space of opinion. Usually is the opinion space. We didn't have a space of informative journalism about feminism. That is the difference, because in informative journalism we need to show the data, we need to show the testimonies, we need to show what is the essential of the journalism of any journalism in the world. So does feminist journalism have impartiality? The impartiality is a principle, a responsibility of the journalism. It's not only a principle about the ethics of the journalistic job. It's a principle that is in the Constitution. It's a legal responsibility. And the impartiality has the impartiality carries two obligations. First, to not present a personal opinion as a fact. You can't present your personal opinion as a fact. And second, to investigate and publish the different views of the case under investigation. We have two rules that the law say to the impartiality. We have another rule about impartiality that is only for informative journalism. It's not for opinion journalism. So if Volcanicas do informative journalism, they have to respect the impartiality as a principle. In the case of Ciro Guerra, this is you can see the case. This is the title of the report: 8 accusations against film director Ciro Guerra for sexual harassment and sexual abuse. Out of the journalists that you can see the Catalina Ruiz Navarro, Matilde Londoño, out of the journalists were two women that have been activists of feminism in different times in other social fields, such as mobilization or expressions or the expression of opinions in the media. They will be able to use informative journalism to tell the information and testimonies that they had collected about alleged Guerra's victims. Yeah. In that case, we need to review if Volcanica's report respects the impartiality. So, in the first rule, what is if they first they respect the facts, yeah, because the body of the report was the 8 testimonies of other women. It's not only the opinion of the authors in the report, yeah, and even the version of these women were supported by documents, by image, by chats, personal chats of the women. So we can see that the report is not the opinion of the journalists. And second, they presented the different views, not only with the 8 women in the report, including they included the view of Ciro Guerra. They interviewed Ciro Guerra and showed his his answers about the questions of these allegations, of these accusations. Yeah. So we have the two rules of impartiality. No, don't present, do not present the opinions the personal opinion as a fact, and to investigate and publish the different views, the different views of the case. Okay. So we have an impartiality job of informative journalists. It is proof that feminist activism is capable of creating and publishing impartial feminist journalism. Yeah, it's not the same, but we can use the journalism as a tool of the struggle of women. Finally, is feminist journalism necessary and fair? I have two ideas. I think that the feminist journalism is necessary. I think that this type of journalism can tell the stories that show the abuse against women beyond the agendas or the silence of the traditional media. Besides, this journalism is able to use different tools of investigation, which the NGOs and the feminist activism have used during a long period. And the second one, I think that the feminist journalism is fair. I think that is not an abuse against the men who are accused in the news, in the feminist news. Similar to any type of journalism, the role of the feminist journalism is to report facts and express opinions on matters of public concern. I write here an idea that I would like to do something after in this presentation, but we cannot ask feminist journalism for something different that we don't demand of other type of journalism. Yeah, because that would be another type of discrimination against feminism. In that case, the abuse and discrimination against women is a public concern. Yeah, we have to talk about it. We have to publish about it, and I think that this is why the feminist journalism is necessary and is fair. We have a question: Can the feminist journalism speak and point out a perpetrator or accused of a crime against women? I think that yes, the other journalisms do the same. Yeah, the other journalisms speak about the names of perpetrators, the name of the person that do a reprehensible behavior. So I think that the feminist journalism can do the same. This doesn't mean that that journalism can replace the law, for example, or the journalists can replace the judges. This only means that journalism has a mission to investigate and publish the facts and the name. That's its role, nothing more. Society, for example, the next series of Zero Guerra in Amazon was canceled about this because this report. So the society with other disciplines as law or sociology or ethics has to decide what is the next step that is needed in the name of justice or representation of the victims. It's not a problem of journalism. Yeah, it's a problem of society and his rules and its rules and its law. However, the next step will not be a question of journalism. So this is my opinion. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Camilo. It's actually very interesting, very relevant, very current. And I feel this is something that we need to be aware of, but I mean, this exists, like, right? Especially in these times. Well, thank you everyone for watching. We hope that you really enjoyed these presentations. And we are very happy to have presented this for everyone that has watched.